Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for Dinner and Dialogue. Tonight, our topic is what's after high school. This conversation is personal to me. My brother is a recent 2020 graduate. So we're going to dive in deep tonight. We have a really dynamic group of panelists, and they're going to talk a little bit about their stories and some of the resources that are available to our recent grads and those that may be looking to graduate in 2021. So we're going to dive in tonight and talk a little bit more about education and skilled trades and some of those opportunities that are available. So tonight, joining me, as I said, we have a very dynamic group of panelists. First, I want to introduce Dr. Elsa Olvera. She is the Director of Educational Opportunity, the Center at Delta College. Thank you for joining us tonight, Dr. Olvera.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yes, absolutely. Next on our panel, we have Dan Keenan. He is a farmer and he is the owner of Keenan Farms. Not sure if he can, there we go. Hi, Dan, how are you doing tonight?
You hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm Dan Keenan, a farmer in Maryland, Michigan.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yes, yeah, we can hear you. Thank you so much for joining us. Dan has a family farm and they farm soybeans, corn, and sugar beets. Yes, thank you so much, Dan. We'll get back to you in just a minute. And then also on our panel this evening, we have Mr. Kevin Gregory.
You're breaking up on me there.
Okay, we'll get that fixed. We'll work on that. We'll work on the connection as well. So, but I wanted to take this opportunity to introduce Kevin Gregory. He is the founder of Hire. How are you doing tonight, Kevin?
I'm good, man. I'm coming from one meeting into your meeting and just living the dream, man.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for taking time to join us tonight. I know your heart is with our graduates and getting them on a successful path and talking about some of the opportunities that are out there. So we're looking forward to our discussion tonight. Thanks, Kevin.
Yes, indeed. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. Also on our panel tonight, we have Miss Jenny Gino. She is the Career Technical Education Director for the Saginaw ISD. And she was also just placed on the Workforce Development Board with the state of Michigan from Governor Gretchen Whitmer. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, Jenny.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yes, that's great. And then we have Ricky Ramirez Jr. He's the founder and CEO of Rick's Kicks LLC. So we're looking forward to learning a little bit more about your business, Ricky, and what your path that you've decided to take. So we have a really rounded out panel. So thank you again, Ricky, for joining us tonight.
No problem.
Wonderful. All right, well, let's get into our discussion tonight. The first question I wanted to ask of our panelists was, just tell me a little bit about your personal experience and tell me how you discovered the career that you are in now. We'll start with Dr. Olvera.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Clint. Yeah. You know, as a young individual from Carlton, as well like Ricky, graduated, I had no idea as far as future plans, job. It was a first generation, not knowing much about college as well. And so I started off at a certificate program, went into dental, worked for Dr. Nash for many years, and he was a great, great mentor. And he saw something in me that I didn't see, so he pushed me to go to college. And I started off at Delta College, which is a great place to start off at because you're learning how to go to class and read and highlight and study and just really trying to get grounded with good faculty. And then from there, I transferred out to Ferris State University and received my bachelor's and just kept going until I received my master's. And from there, I went into education. I started off at business, and like many first generation, you don't know where to go, what to do, what to start. So I switched careers, unfortunately quite a lot, and didn't have a lot of credits that transferred, but those that did, I was able to graduate. Then from there, I went over to Northwood University, worked there for a while, and again had a great mentor and introduced me to this doctoral program that was here close by, and it was an education and continued on. But the most important thing is really good mentors and having individuals, believe in you and see something in you that you don't know. And so for any first gen, I would just say, just go to school, try it, do a certificate, anything, just to kind of explore.
Wonderful. Let's go to Kevin. Kevin, can you tell us a little bit about your personal experience and how you discovered the career that you're in now?
Man, my career exploration has been one of trial and error constantly, just constant trial and error. That I've been fortunate graduating from Arthur Hill High School, class of 1994. I didn't have the best grades. I had really good test scores, but I didn't have the best grades. I was planning to go to Eastern Michigan University with a couple of friends of mine. I've been accepted into a lot of colleges because of my test scores. But I had senioritis my senior year of high school. And because I had senioritis, my last report card was horrible. And my parents really just didn't trust me enough to go off to college. And so I started at Delta. I was kicking and screaming that first semester because I was watching my friends go off to college and I was staying home. I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. So I did poorly that first semester at Delta. And then I started really buying into it just by wanting to be something a little bit, I don't know, the light bulb just flipped in my head. And after that, I started 4.0ing all of my semesters at Delta. Had some really great professors like John Pugh and Neville Brito and Dr. Willie Thompson. Those guys, man, they just had such an impact on my life. And then when it was time to leave Delta, I went to the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, studied, was a economics major, baptism by fire, man. It was such a difficult, it was a culture shock. Academically speaking, man, I couldn't compete initially. And I finally figured out how to compete. I finally figured out my work ethic. And that kind of laid the groundwork for all of the endeavors that I engage in today. I do a lot of consulting, leadership development, professional development, and leadership training. There's also a lot of work, volunteer work done with youth and college readiness and college support now, not just getting them to college, but really spending a lot of time, effort, and money to figure out how to get them through college, as well as once they come out of college, can we do enough to make their undergraduate experience full enough that allows them to be competitive in the workforce upon graduation. So I got a couple businesses I'm silent partnering in these days. I got a couple consulting contracts that I do. So I'm just kind of everywhere all the time. And that's me.
Very good. Thank you, Kevin. Let's go to Ricky. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started?
Okay. In 2015, I started reselling on apps because like reselling on IG, I really didn't know too much on Instagram because I'm not like a social media type of person. But like as time went, my mom, she got breast cancer in 2015. So like that's where the reselling came from. I took it as an opportunity to get easy money, and I started growing in that aspect. And this year, a lot of people were telling me, go ahead and start your own reselling business. So in January, that's what I decided to do, and it took off from there. But like, I'm 20, so I can relate to like young folks as like graduating, you don't know what to do with your life, because like I'm in the same boat. 2 years ago, I started at Delta, and it changed my life because you turn into an adult, but you also every move you make is like a step, So it's been great so far. Reselling is a success, but like I'm still getting my electrical engineering degree. It's my second year at Delta, and I plan to transfer to Eastern Michigan my last year. But it's been a good road so far.
Well, let's tell our listeners that are joining us who may not be familiar with your business, Ricky. Tell them what you resell.
Okay, I'm into reselling shoes, just like hype shoes like Jordans, Adidas, Nikes. Any releases that come out, I'll get them. Most of my reselling so far has been behind the scenes because I mess with like a lot of like, I won't say powerful people, but people who spend like a lot of money on them. But I plan on opening my website next month, and then I'm opening a store in February. So tune in for
Wow.
that.
All right, that's really unique. So I look forward to hearing a little bit more about that. Let's go to Jenny Gino. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started and how you discovered the career that you're in now?
Sure. Well, growing up, I really didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I'd been a lifelong advocate for social justice. So I thought advocacy work, but I had no idea. Really loved writing. So I always thought I would be a journalist and write about injustices. But then my senior year of high school, I had physics class and I hated physics class. And so I ended up getting a co-op job in a preschool for students with special needs. And so I had never thought about education, never wanted to be a teacher, but that experience kind of left its imprint on me. And so I started off at Central Michigan University thinking that I would be a journalism major, and I kept coming back to that experience. And so I changed my major to special education. So I started off in education as a special education teacher, teaching disabilities for cognitive impairments, and I specialized in learning disabilities. And then I was recruited to come to the Aranac Intermediate School District Career Center to serve as their special needs coordinator. Didn't know anything about career and technical education, had never been inside the Career Center, but I got a phone call 3 times asking me to please come interview. And so when somebody asks you 3 times, you feel like you need to at least go and find out more about it. And I remember walking through those doors and I just felt like I was home. And so I spent 14 years at the Bay Aranac Career Center and just loved career and technical education, just grew in my role, expanded my knowledge. And then I came to Saginaw 3 years ago. Best decision I ever made. And now I serve as the executive director for career and technical education for Saginaw.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for that. I want to encourage our listeners who are tuning in. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, go ahead and put them in the comment feature on our Facebook Live or on our YouTube. So yes, thank you guys so much. One of the things I want to discuss is the recent graduates, especially our 2020 graduates who are not allowed to commune together and celebrate their accomplishments in a more traditional fashion. But I know there may be some who are feeling unsettled about their future. Do you have any advice for them on their next steps? Let's go with Kevin. Oh, I can't hear you, Kevin.
I think he's muted.
There we go.
I'm sorry. I'm holding a bad connection right now. Can somebody repeat what was just said? Because I didn't get the last 2 minutes of conversation.
Yeah, absolutely, Kevin. We're talking about our 2020 grads and how this is such a different time for them. And I just wanted to know what advice you might have, because some of them are feeling a little unsettled about their future. What advice would you give to our 2020 graduates? Well, all right. We will get back to that. We have internet connection. We're still navigating through our new normal, but we're going to be talking about some of those features and some of those opportunities that our students have. Especially I want to dial in with Jenny so we can talk a little bit more about career technical education and skilled trades and some of those opportunities. So tonight we want to talk about that, but we also want to eliminate some of the barriers or some of the unknowns for some of our graduates. So we're going to get to that in just a few minutes, but I want to encourage you to put your comments, questions, concerns in our chat feature below, and we'll get to those. We might not have the opportunity to get to every question tonight, but we are committed to making sure that we get responses to those. And again, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me ask Jenny Gino if we can get Jenny on about what advice that she would have for our recent 2020 graduates who weren't able to celebrate in a more traditional fashion and might feel a little unsettled about their future with everything that is going on.
Yeah, I know it's been an unusual year. I would just say, take stock of those things, those accomplishments, think to the things that really spoke to you? You know, what are some things that you really enjoy doing? There are a lot of pathways to get to your end goal. I think, you know, we tend to talk about direct pathways, but sometimes things happen and you get a little bit off your trajectory. The future is still bright, but keep doing something. I've heard lots of students talk about taking gap years and you know, just trying to make some decisions. And I would suggest experience tells me that you want to keep moving forward, whatever that might be. You know, get a job that you love, or perhaps go down a different, you know, pathway temporarily. Look at what you like doing, but keep doing something, keep engaging, because it's so easy to just say, I'll just wait. And before you know it, you've waited a really long time. And as you get older, it's more and more difficult to go back and get the degree or the certificate or the training that you want. So just keep thinking about those things that really excite you and turn your head, and what can you be doing now to keep pushing forward towards those goals. Experience is a great resume builder. So, you know, if there's not an option to continue your education at this time, then look at getting that experience, because at the end of the day, that goes a long way with employers. And there's nothing magic about age 18 where you have to decide what you're going to do for the whole rest of your life. What do you like doing? What's your passion? What are you good at? What can you do to build on that right now as you figure out what is your next step? We talk a lot about things like career ladders. And so not necessarily upward mobility within a company, but within an occupation. So I would suggest starting there. And there's lots of resource people in the community that can help have that conversation with you. Certainly, you know, we can at the ISD, Delta College, Michigan Works, lots and lots of resources.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Let's head over to Dr. Overa.
Yeah, I would just add the same thing like Jenny just indicated, you know, being young and not knowing, having a job or working, gaining those experience. But when you start college, you have to do your prerequisites anyways. You got to start off with your math and your sciences and your English. So your first year and a half is prereq. So start something, come to college, you know, take maybe one course, two courses, half-time or full-time, but just trying to explore and get on campus and be having that sense of belonging, make friends, you know, mentorship, etc. Do a lot of assessments. You know, you can do like Focus 2, figuring out what your career pathway might be. We can do like Myers-Briggs or other personality, because it's really trying to figure out, you know, who you are. A lot of students, you know, they come in, they think they know what they want, and they end up changing. You do have some that start and they complete their pathway as well, but you know, you really just have to explore and figure out yourself. And I think right now, like you asked early on with the stay-at-home order, it's just we learned a lot of patience. You know, we learned a lot of patience right now. Yeah. A lot of individuals are on their phone. You know, they're just flipping through and trying to read and trying to explore. And so the best thing is to be able to go ahead and just start some type of coursework. And, you know, downtown Saginaw is there. You know, we are your city. This is your college. So we're here to help you. We have the TRIO program. I'm the director over TRIO. It doesn't matter where you want to go to college. We help out anyone, Ferris, CMU, you know, Davenport, North, whatever. But we do know that Delta has a lot of great courses. So, you know, stop by at Delta, ask for TRIO or anybody that's there that can help you out. Once we are open, we're still in phase 4, not phase 5. After the holidays, hopefully. But, you know, just start something. Take a course, do your testing, do your admissions, and just get started.
Thank you, Dr. O. I have a question for Ricky. I wanted to ask you about starting a business. So how might someone know that they are ready to start a business? Is it just enough to feel that you're good at doing something? Or can you provide us with some insights for our young entrepreneurs? So yeah. Can you just tell us a little bit about that, Ricky? If someone has a passion about something, kind of how you got started.
All right, I would say like, you know, when it's time, when just everybody is asking you like, what's next? You know, like what's next to come, and that's how like I grew, because people just kept wanting to know what's next. And like the money aspect, yes, you know, and that's gonna come, because you know, money gets you almost anything nowadays, but you just gotta like, you feel it mostly though, because like I felt it when it was time for me to take the next step to being an entrepreneur.
All right, good. Thank you, Ricky. I want to go to Kevin and some of the other folks who are joining us on the panel, and that's about student debt. Let's talk to those tonight on our live stream who might want to attend college, but do not want to incur that large student loan debt. So let me go to Kevin, because I think you might have mentioned that a little bit in your introduction. I know that's something that's close to your heart. But just give us some advice on that, if you would, Kevin.
It depends. I mean, honestly, if you're a first gen and you don't have the money, you're gonna have to find the money. There's this big. What I find is I have to break a lot of kids' hearts and explaining to them that you're gonna go into debt, that they've kind of got marginal grades, they don't really have impressive college resumes or a lot of connections, and they think they're about to come out of here with $10,000-$15,000 in scholarships, and it just doesn't happen that way, unfortunately. And there's a part of you that has to wrap your head around going into debt and how you're going to manage that debt going in and coming out. But one of the things that we've been really pushing kids to do is build strong relationships with the resident assistants directors, the resident directors in their dormitories. Because once you become an RA, which means you're kind of like the manager of the floor, they actually give RAs free room and board. Mm-hmm. And so at a place like Central Michigan, you're talking about that's $10,000. Now, those are very competitive positions, much like scholarships. But when you're a freshman and you take out that first $5,500 in loan or $9,000 in loans, depending on what your family situation is, you can put yourself in a position where you start making connections with the people in the Office of Financial Aid who will find you different scholarships, but they're usually about $1,000 or $2,000. But the biggest traction that we've been finding is when our kids in that second year get those RA positions to cover their room and board, which is usually at the local level somewhere between $10,000 and $12,000. So okay. That's one of the things about debt. I mean, part of it is you have to wrap your head around that you're going to get it. I have to tell kids all the time, it's one thing to get an acceptance letter from that out-of-state university. Mm-hmm. It's another thing to come up with a plan to pay for it. And mm-hmm. So how are we going to pay for it? And a lot of times we don't have answers. So when you really have no answers, there's the opportunities going into the military. And then there's also what a lot of us did by starting at Delta and not incurring that debt because we're living at home and your financial aid, as well as your tip money, for a lot of kids is covering the cost of your tuition.
Mm-hmm. Good. Thank you for that, Kevin. Any of our other panelists want to jump in? This is an interactive conversation, so please feel free to share any advice that you might have.
If I could
jump in.
Okay.
Go ahead, Elsa.
Oh, go ahead. We'll start with Dr. O, and then Jenny, we will not leave you out of this portion. I know it's really close to your heart.
Yes. Thank you. Sorry about that, Jenny. But, I just wanted to add in there, again, when you start off with college and not knowing, don't get yourself in debt right away. I wish they had individuals like us, years ago, because we could talk to you about financial literacy and starting off at a community college and then transferring out, receiving some grants, or some scholarships that are available out there. And so, for example, Delta College is $117 a credit, so you're going to spend, less than $3,000 a semester. If you go away to college, it's starting at $25,000, a year. And so if you times that by 5 years for a 4-year degree, you're going to get yourself in debt over $100,000. So we strongly recommend start off, not getting in debt, get in debt later, for your bachelor's, master's, etc. But don't start off right away. And I do want to bring a message to our current, graduates of 2020. Some of you and most of you, because, we are in an economy with, free and reduced lunch. Many of you qualify for tuition incentive program. It's a state of Michigan. It's called TIP. It's a TIP program. And so I ask you to contact us. Let us help you go online to see if you qualify. It takes less than 5 minutes. And if you qualify, what happens is it pays for all your tuition. It pays for all your tuition minus any fees. And so that, TIP goes with you. So you can start off like at Delta and then go over to any university, like Kevin said, over to Eastern, Western, CMU, wherever, and you go to tip phase 2. And so that covers a lot of your tuition. So you're not paying $25,000. You're paying less than half of that. So, but again, if you're just now graduating, you're younger than 20 years old, the deadline is August 30th. So you have to jump on this and come and fill this out now. Because once that date passed and you qualify, you don't get it later on. And it's good for the next 4 to 5 years to help you out. So I just wanted to quickly add that in there.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Let's go to Jenny. I know you wanted to jump in on this one.
Okay. So several things. I guess first I would rewind a little bit earlier in a student's high school career. One of the most important, impactful things that students can do is something called work-based learning. So spending some time walking the halls of businesses and industries that they might be interested, or maybe they didn't think they'd be interested in, to learn more and find out, is this the environment I want to work? Explore different occupations. You can get high school credit for it. They're paid, they're unpaid. You can do that right through your regular high school or directly through your career and technical education program. Because if we don't, so many students I've talked to, they just jump into degrees. They have a degree and they get, like, health is my favorite example, because sometimes students don't realize what's all involved in becoming a nurse until they get to their clinicals and they realize, boy, I really don't want to do this. What an awful time to find that out if they haven't explored that. That's why I love career and technical education. The other thing is really taking advantage of articulation agreements with your post-secondary partners and direct credit with those that grant that. Working with them. We have awesome articulation agreements with all of our post-secondary partners in the region, particularly Delta College. And that essentially means the students have attained those competencies and learned those while they were in their class. They can bypass those courses when they get to college. That saves a huge amount of debt. So for example, automotive technician, huge need for that. With the agreement that we have in place with Delta College, the Career Complex will be opening that program a year from now, or a year from this fall. A whole full year of that credit will be able to be bypassed when they start Delta College, and they can get done in 1 year and go to work. And so, I mean, that's just a huge advantage to take advantage of. So looking at what those agreements are. The other thing that's really taken off in Michigan, certainly around the country, but particularly in Michigan, is the early middle college movement. So this enables students to start taking college courses while they're still in high school, simultaneously earning high school credit and college credit towards their occupation. And it doesn't cost them anything. They stay 1 extra year beyond their high school graduation date, but it's paid for because they're still a high school student. So there's a lot of opportunities. And the last one I'll mention, which I can talk about more later if you want, is apprenticeship. We have all kinds of apprenticeships. There's all kinds of apprenticeship pathways in just about every occupation you can think of. And that's
Absolutely. I actually wanted to dial in a little bit about apprenticeships and the trades. So could you give us a little insight into the trades, Jenny, that may not require a college degree? And wanting to know if the barriers for some of those apprenticeships, are they high? And any direction you could provide would be great about our trade education here in Saginaw County.
Okay, so I'll talk a little bit. First, I'll start with apprenticeships. There's different kinds of apprenticeships. I think the ones people are probably most familiar with are the labor union apprenticeships. And those offer wonderful opportunities for individuals. Sometimes you have to be 18 depending on the particular union, sometimes 17. So there's some differences depending on the union in which you're applying for. But what they do is they provide training and they pay for education and you have a job and benefits, just great benefits at no cost to the individual. But there's also non-union apprenticeship. So for example, we have a partnership with Greater Michigan Construction Academy for our parents that are like they're parents of our early Head Start and Head Start students. And so, for example, we have our first individual that was hired by Three Rivers Corporation. We're super proud of that. And they went through, and that's a non-apprenticeship or a non-union apprenticeship pathway. But some of the barriers that might be in place with regards to the labor unions, like some of them, you can't have, any kind of records, I guess, for lack of a better word, with the juvenile justice system but some of those with the non-union side of that don't have those barriers in place. So if somebody makes a mistake in their life, that's not something that they're going to have to, pay for the rest of their life. Customize apprenticeships. A lot of our business partners are really interested in, they call them sometimes scholarship programs, but paying for training for individuals, and they'll keep them and they'll hire them, and they'll have a job as a result of that. And so these are apprenticeships in particular are opportunities that don't cost the individual anything. If there's a Department of Labor apprenticeship, that becomes a national portable credential they can take with them. So both union and non-union offer that. So if they go, out west and they have a Department of Labor apprenticeship journeyman certificate that's honored in Nevada, just like it would be honored in Michigan. And so that's just a huge boom. They're getting their education and they're working and they get paid to learn. That's the other part. You get paid once you're taken on as an apprentice. And that's a huge advantage in that realm. So that's something I would encourage everybody to take a look at. We've done a bunch of apprenticeship panels throughout our county. They have been hugely attended and will continue to offer that. So that's one pathway.
Okay, thank you. We have steered many of my former students into, into a good union apprenticeship, and they're doing very, very well. We know that with union apprenticeships, you have the opportunity to negotiate wages, terms and conditions of employment. So the sky is really the limit when it comes to some of those union apprenticeships. So we want to encourage all of our folks to look at those opportunities. I see Dan Keenan has joined us from Keenan Farms. How are you doing tonight, Dan?
Good. Sorry, I'm a little late to the party. I
No,
feel
that's
flow
okay.
on the progressive commercials, but
that's okay.
A little fuzzy, but
oh, you're great. Glad to have you on the panel tonight. I wanted to ask you a question, Dan, just about farming. While manufacturing is a central component to our economy, all things agricultural are critical. That supports the Michigan economy. Yet when most people think of farming, I think they imagine in their head there's no longer what farming actually looks like. Can you speak to the potential careers and what farming actually looks like in 2020?
Sure, Clint. I think everybody has a view in their head of the old American Gothic picture of the old lady and the old man sitting with a pitchfork. Modern agriculture has taken on and adapted technology in a way that many people haven't seen, especially the last 15, 20 years. That technology has also brought in new jobs and new opportunities along with it. Some of the technology we're utilizing on our farm, whether it be soil sampling, the computers that we run the tractors and the equipment with, the grain dryers, just everything has just been updated and evolved in a way that nobody in ag has seen in the last 15 years. That brings with it a lot of job opportunities, potential job opportunities for young people.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that, Dan, because we want to have a really well-rounded conversation tonight, encouraging our folks who are tuning in to put your comments, questions, concerns in the chat feature below, and we will make sure that we get to them. One of the things I also wanted to talk about tonight is the fact that we have 3 universities here within our district here. It's something that's really unique and special to Saginaw County. So I just wanted to talk to our panelists tonight about how can we develop better relationships between each of those institutions and directly get resources to our students. We'll start off with Kevin.
It's tough. It's tough. I think people see higher ed budget numbers and think they're really big, but those are a whole lot of small departments that are a lot are underfunded. So we've got a lot of underfunded universities, even though there's a lot of money going to them. All of that money is going into smaller, different pots where there's a lack of funding that can happen. And then you also struggle with a scenario where, like, locally in our K-12 education system, especially in secondary education, there's a lot of turnover, and there's a lot of lack of funding as it relates to your college advisors and the people who work with the students to do this type of work that are outside your traditional teaching positions. And those are usually the liaisons and the connections between those two. So it's really tough to really pull that off because, one, you kind of need an investment in higher ed that's agreeing to connect with your secondary institutions, but you also need some more funding and stationed positions within the secondary schools that will allow us to actually fund those positions to foster those relationships. Because I know, for instance, like we're a community-based college readiness program, and every time I call the university to talk to somebody in admissions who hosted us the summer before, then that person's gone, or the director of that department is gone. So you get a lot of turnover in both of those. And I mean, Dr. O can probably explain it better than me about how we address the turnover of those two so that the stronger relationships can be developed.
Yeah, I could just add on to that it really, it is relationships and developing those friendships and not competing, because a lot of times, right now everyone's running for enrollment. Everybody wants that student, that number, that funding, and it's not about that. It's about our community and making sure that our community has the resources, the networking, the exploration for careers and jobs, mentorship and guidance, being able to navigate through the college process. So it's really just trying to help that individual out overall within our universities. And we have at Delta College some really good partnerships, like Jenny indicated about articulations, but we have 3+1 programs. And so, like, for example, for one, we have business administration. So you pay, the first 3 years at Delta College with Delta College's tuition, right? 117 a credit, a lot less expensive. And then your last year, you go over to Northwood University and you pay their tuition. So it helps save money. Same thing with the 3+1 through Ferris State University. First 3 years at Delta College, their tuition. Last year at Ferris State. And the thing about Ferris State is that last year, even though you're paying their tuition, those courses are offered at Delta College. So you can receive your degree from both of those universities with their stamp on it, even though you started off at Delta, got associates, but you did that third year at a tuition cost. So again, it's relationship building and not really being after the funds. You're hurting the student.
Let's go to Dan. Just had a quick question for you. Wanted to ask you, when we started our dialogue and dinner and dialogue, we talked a little bit about how you got into your industry or in your field and your career. If you could give me some insight a little bit, and for those who are tuning in, let us know a little bit of how you got started.
I guess you could say I was born into it. I'm the 5th generation on this farm. Our farm we're on western edge of Saginaw County. The farm was established in 1904. I came out of high school and actually I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Took some classes at Delta just to kind of get an idea where I wanted to head. Went to Michigan State, and I guess as fate had it, I kind of made my way back to the farm. A lot of kids in my situation can't, the size of the farm can't justify supporting a family. Modern agriculture, you can't raise a family on 80 acres anymore. You almost have to expand. So a common misconception I think a lot of people have with what they call it factory farming, or there's a lot of large farms. That doesn't mean they're not family owned and operated. They are. In fact, the bulk of them are. But if you want to make that your primary source of income, you've got to add the acres to it. And so I guess coming out of high school, I was a lot like many of these kids are nowadays. They're not sure what they want to do. I wasn't sure I wanted to farm. But as fate had it, I made my way back to the farm. And like I said, I'm the 5th generation on this farm. And I'm proud to do it.
Thank you so much for that, Dan. I just wanted to make sure we had an opportunity to get to know a little bit more about you and what you guys do out at Keenan Farm. So thank you. One of the other questions that I had is, you know, with everything that is going on in our community, what is something that's tangible that we can do right now to help our students ensure that they are going to be successful for the next step? What are some of the things that they can be doing right now? Whether it's a parent who's tuning in or a student, if you could give us just a little bit of insight on what those next steps should look like, or what can they do right now. Let's start with Jenny.
I have to unmute myself. You know, again, I think it's experience, you know, getting yourself out there, some things that you can be doing right now educationally. Put yourself in your own job shadows, talk to people, network, get involved in nonprofits. I tell students that all the time. That's experience. That's, you know, it might not be paid experience, but networking is so key. When students really feel connected to their community and with people in their community, they're more likely to stay in their community. We just kicked off a student ambassador program in Saginaw County. We're super excited for, and it's leadership development for 2 years, and then they'll become an ambassador their third year. And the goal is to connect them to the community in which they live, so that we can be cultivating the next generation of leaders. So just putting themselves out there, talking to people. Can I follow you around on the job for a day? Those are some things that they can be doing right now to help plan for their future, whether it's paid or whether it's unpaid. But you have two choices in life. You can do something or do nothing. And I would always advocate the doing something, because all experience is good.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jenny. Let's go to Ricky. What are some of the things that we can do now to support our students looking at the next steps, whether it's going to school or being a young entrepreneur?
Like the parent aspect you were talking about, as a parent, because my parents, they're very like motivation and spiritual. So like just that pushing, that, you know, you got somebody pushing you helps a lot. And then I would say as a student aspect, I would say being humble and just motivating yourself to be better. Because, you know, I want to say that, just who would, like, you know, just push yourself. And because my mom, she always says, why would you be in a room full of people that's, you know, like y'all are the same. I think it's hard to explain. Y'all are the same.
I definitely understand what you're saying. It's to build up that courage to walk into a room when folks may not look like you.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, just push yourself is the main thing, because nothing is given to you. I'll say that, because like even being in college is hard too, being part-time in college and like building basically an empire with Rick's Kicks, because you're always traveling and you got to manage your time, because time is key to everything.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thank you, Ricky. Appreciate that. Let's go to Kevin. Something that's tangible that we can do now to help out our recent graduates and students looking to go to the next level.
The first thing we got to just figure out is, I mean, trying to assess where they are. And the thing that we can't do is pressure them to make a decision here and now. We kind of have a tendency to do that way too much. And what we really need to be able to do is just find out and let a kid know, man, you don't have to go to college right now. If there's any time in your life to be broke and couch surfing and not really doing much, it's when you're 18 and 19. And if you need 18 and 19 to figure it out or get a clue, then let's do that. But I think the thing that we can do now is really stop forcing, because there's a big pressure to get an 18-year-old kid to figure out, 17 or 18-year-old kid to figure out, what do you want to do right now, and invest this significant amount of time and energy and money into something when, to be honest, they might just want to work at Wendy's right now for the next couple of years. So I think the thing we can do right now is kind of accept where our kids are in terms of trying to navigate their future, and just let them know that when they're ready, we'll be here for them.
Thank you, Kevin. That's great. Let's go to Dan. What's something that's tangible that we can try to instill or advise our most recent graduates on their next steps?
I think encourage them to step out of their comfort zone, try new things. I think the more you experience, the more you will learn what you like, what you don't like. And if you stay stuck in the things that you are comfortable with and don't want to try new things, I think there's a lot of opportunities that have been missed there. And I also think that maybe instill some characteristics that I know benefit, credit a few people, your work ethic and just pride in what you do. I don't care if you're digging ditches or if you're whatever. Pride in what you do, because the pride will show itself. People will notice it. If you're proud of what you do, if you're a garbage man, be proud of it. The world needs it. I mean, I think those two things carry a lot of weight, no matter what you do.
Absolutely. Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Dan. Let's go to Dr. O.
I would say the exact same thing as everybody else, but I would add to that, a lot of individuals just don't volunteer anymore. And you really have to get out in the community. You have to volunteer to figure out what you like, what you dislike. You have to build that networking there. And if you choose that, career and want to go into that, when you start college, what happens is those individuals that are surrounding you are going to motivate you. They're going to be mentors to you. And it's like Ricky said, you have to surround yourself by people that don't look like you and talk and dress like you, but just be able to explore and kind of move forward for that. So volunteer is of extreme importance. And motivation, you have to really be motivated. And being young, we don't know what we want to do, what to go into, but it's just having those true mentors. And I'll be real, a lot of some people sometimes have friends that want to pull you down, jealousy or envy or whatever, but you have to be around people that are going to build you up. So making sure you have positive relationships and being able to help you out. And lastly, I just want to say we talked a lot about Delta College here. And just a reminder, that downtown Saginaw is yours. That is your college. And we call it a one-stop. You can walk through that door, sit down with somebody, and they will help you do your admissions, your financial aid, your testing, your careers. They do everything. A lot of times what happens is you go to universities or sometimes even the main campuses and you go see admissions and then they say, okay, go down the hallway, go see financial aid. Okay, go down the hallway, go see an advisor. But at downtown, we really help to meet your needs because it's scary. You don't know what to ask and who to go to and how to start. And we help you do that. So again, just being a community, networking, and we're a resource. We're a resource there, whether you come to Delta or another university, but start off not getting in debt.
Very good. Thank you. We have some audience questions that we want to get to, and those will pop up on the screen. I know we have several that are in the hopper. And I just want to encourage everyone who's listening, go ahead and put those comments, questions, concerns in the comment section below so we can get to those. So we're really excited to do that. Ms. Baker has a question, and she says, will the Career Center have summer camp-like programs to expose more students to skilled trades?
So that was the plan for this summer. Then COVID hit. So those plans are on hold. But yes, we plan to for sure bring a manufacturing camp, which will explore all aspects of manufacturing from, mechatronics. I put on mechanical engineering in that bucket, from machining to welding, that kind of thing. That's been in the works for a while, but unfortunately because of COVID, that had to be on hold. We continuously look at different things that we can do with construction. We held a weekend camp for girls in, I want to say maybe February or January before the face-to-face instruction ceased, which was highly successful. So there's been plans for a wide variety of camps that align with the career pathways at the Career Conquest.
Wonderful. Thank you for clearing that up. I know we have another audience question that has come in. So we get that on the screen, that would be great. Ms. Tate, she says, what is one of the most important things a young entrepreneur like Ricky should take into account when considering beginning their own business? Where do you start? I will start with, go ahead, Ricky, if you want to speak to that, that would be great. Yeah.
I would say making sure you're in connection with the right people, because, like Doctor also said, you don't want to get your inner circle full of just like downers. Basically, you want to have people who like want to see you succeed in life. And another thing is make sure your accountant is straight, because like in my situation, my mom is my accountant, so she makes sure like all budget wise is good. And you always want to have like people you can count on, and people like build a team basically, like, because it's always good to know people, but it's also better to know people like that you can depend on. That was some things I would say to a young entrepreneur. No matter like anything you do, those are like key things that I would consider.
Very good. Thank you, Ricky. One of the things I wanted to just to touch on that question a little bit is that the Saginaw Economic Development Corporation is a great resource. So they're right directly at City Hall. Previously, we had a small business discussion with Miss Kana Franklin, and she was able to provide some excellent resources that they have. In addition to that, one of the things that I'm calling for as a candidate would be a $50,000 startup across 1,000 businesses in the state of Michigan. That's going to help get our economic driver going and let folks know that, yes, Michigan is a great place to live, but it's also a great place to start a business and to work and raise your family. So that's one of the things that I will be calling for in my policy platform. If you want to, go ahead and take a look at it at clintonbryant.com. But let's get to another audience question. I have one of my friends that is texting. Oh, there we go. It says, Joy says, 95% of people qualify for MCTI. It's great for the shy and struggling kids. Do we have any panelists? Dr. Olvera, do you want to touch on that just a little bit?
Yeah, a lot of students, they have special needs or just aren't ready to be in a community setting as far as a college or even a university. It's just too large for them. And so they offer a lot of great programs, hands-on, work with them individually, create a plan for them, help them long-term into some type of careers and assessment. And it's not a large environment. So they're not, overwhelmed. They don't fall into not having that sense of belonging, but it's a start for them to go ahead and begin for that. So we do have a lot of students that do graduate and are referred over to us. And when we sit down and have a conversation with them, if we feel that they're just not, prepared or too quiet or too shy, or maybe the academics are too rigorous for them to go ahead and start off, then we'll go ahead and refer them over there to that program so they can go ahead and get the hands-on, the skills, the comfort for them. They can go ahead and graduate and or transfer back to another college campus or university if that's their need. But it's for a lot of individuals just aren't, remedial ready or just too quiet or too shy to be in that big of an environment.
Wonderful. We have another audience question that I want to get to in just a moment. But Dr. Olvera, you mentioned some of the resources that were available at the downtown campus. Is the campus open yet?
That's a great question. With this COVID-19 and the coronavirus, we are not open as of yet, but next Tuesday, we're going to start having staff kind of, in inclement measures to kind of come back and be able to be surrounded in their community. But as far as the doors opening up, the doors are not open to the students or community as of now, nor on the main campus. And I know a lot of other universities locally are in the exact same, situation. So, but I did see last night where Governor Whitmer's thinking about going to phase 5 after the holidays. It's coming up for 4th of July. And I know our president, Dr. Goodnow, really does follow, Governor Whitmer's, decision and phase for that. So I would say within the next couple of weeks, but when we do open up, look for our marquee. We do have a marquee outside at downtown Saginaw. And so as soon as we're able to have individuals in there, we'll put it on there. We're going to start off probably with 2 or 3 days there, and eventually by August, be there all 5 days. And so You can always reach us though, eoc@delta.edu, or call us at 686-9470. Even though the doors are closed, we are all working virtually. So we work all day long behind the computer scene. If you email or you call us, we will call you back and work with you. We're doing Zooming, we're sharing our screen so we can do FAFSA, we can do admissions, we can do whatever your needs are. Just give us a call and we're here for you. And again, we're a community, so we're here to help assess you. And if there's something we cannot do, we connect you immediately to the main campus because everybody there is working as well. So even though, like you asked, are the doors open? No, but virtually our doors are open. Absolutely.
Can you give us, Dr. O, can you give us that email and that phone number just one more time?
Sure. It is, it's for the Educational Opportunity Center. So it's EOC@delta.edu. And then the phone number is 989-686-9470. So as soon as you call, that phone will come right to us in the email, and we return your phone call right away. We're even able to text you. So once we go ahead and get into communication with you and get some information, we can text. If that's your comfort, we can actually help you out through texting.
Oh, wow.
The number. Okay.
All right. We're using technology to the max. I like it, especially during this season that we're in. Thank you all so much. I know we could talk about career technical education. We could talk about other opportunities. It means so much that each of you joined us tonight. Thank you, Kevin, Ricky, Jenny, Dan, and Dr. Overa. You guys have really provided some great insight about our next steps. So even after this conversation, we know that folks will watch it. It'll be streamed again. So I just want to encourage them, if you do have questions after our live broadcast, go ahead and put those in there because we want to get those resources to you and each of our students as they look at their next steps. Thank you so much to everyone who has tuned in tonight for Dinner and Dialogue After High School. What's next? So this was a great conversation, and I want to encourage each of you to join me at clintbryant.com to learn more about me, to learn more about our policy agenda, to take a look at that. You can also text Clint to 22999, and I want to encourage each of our listeners to follow me on social media handles at Clint Bryant MI. There we can talk about several things. Also, wanted to let you know that we have a yard signs that are in, and you can go ahead and request your yard sign. They've been popping up all throughout the district. You can request your sign by going to clintbryant.com with the /yard sign. So thank you once again to our dynamic panel of education professionals, entrepreneurs, from our region, and it means so much to me that they joined, and it means so much to me that you had the opportunity to tune in and join us. So our goal tonight was to be able to provide some resources and talk about next steps. So I think we had some very good dialogue. We can continue this conversation after, but if you have any questions, comments, and concerns for me, go ahead and visit me at clintbryant.com or any of my social media handles, and we can connect there. But thank you once again for tuning in. Have a great night, and we'll see you soon.